up, everybody? My name is Amy, and this is the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast. My name is Amy. Welcome to my show. Hope everybody is having a wonderful day, wonderful evening, wherever you are in the world. As I said in my last live, my last week was a horrible week, and I did not expect that this week would be any better, and I was right. It started raining yesterday here in Arkansas, and it is still raining, and is to continue raining throughout the weekend. Hello, Remain Calm. How are you? And Shalima, how are you doing? Y'all, I don't know what is happening in the beginning of my live streams. My intros and stuff are lagging on my end, and then I don't know, something's not working right. So I'm gonna have to work out that little quirk. Oh, but anyway, yeah, this week has not shaped up to be any better of a week than last week was. I was actually supposed to take my car back to the shop to get some work done on it that I was supposed to have gotten the other day, but had the wrong part. And my new part was supposed to have came in yesterday, but I called this morning and they had not gotten my part in. So needless to say, I'm waiting. That just seems like the story of my life. I'm always waiting on something or someone. But anyway, well, for those of you that have been following the Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie case, you know that Gabby's parents, Joseph Petito and Nicole Schmidt, and their spouses as well, have a lawsuit against Brian Laundrie's parents. And, you know, they've already won a wrongful death suit against the estate of Brian Laundrie, even though Brian Laundrie is deceased. He took his own life in the Macahatchee Creek area there in Florida. They have a lawsuit against the Laundries, and in it is basically that, you know, they knew what their son had done, and that they knew Gabby was dead, and they did nothing, and they caused the Schmidt Petito family a lot of anguish and sorrow and just incomprehensible grief by not communicating with them and telling them anything about what was going on. And, you know, there is no doubt in my mind that Chris and Roberta Laundrie knew that their son had killed his girlfriend, Gabby Petito. By the time he got back home to Florida. Now, whether they knew in the, you know, couple of days prior, if he had called them beforehand and said, this has happened, look, and I'm coming home, or whether he told them when he got home, or, you know, maybe he did try to lie in the beginning, but then when, you know, the Petitos and Schmitz are blowing up Chris and Roberta's phones, where is my daughter? You know, eventually they're going to have to ask Brian, hey, look, Gabby didn't go home to her parents. What happened to her? Where is she? You know, so at some point they knew. And we also, you know, pretty much know that because why else would they have called in their attorney friend from New York, Stephen Bertolino? You know, and then they go on this camping trip and all this, and all this time, you know, you've got the Schmidt and Petito family are blowing up their phones, wanting to know where Gabby was, where Brian was too, for that matter, because they didn't even know where Brian was. And, you know, when it came down to them filing an official missing persons report on their daughter, Gabby Petito, and then they find out Brian's in Florida. He's been in Florida in her van for 2 weeks and she's nowhere to be found. You know, things are starting to look sticky. And, you know, while we can believe that, and we can, you know in our guts and our hearts that this was going on, you got to have some type of proof that they knew. Not just, you know, your gut feeling, or, you know, you just know. So one of the things that they confiscated when they confiscated stuff from the Laundrie home was a letter that Roberta had written to Brian. Now, where they confiscated it from, I'm really not sure. I don't know if they got it out of his bedroom at his parents' home, or out of the van, or where it actually came from. And it's this letter, and on the envelope, it said, burn after reading. And it is alleged by the Petitos Schmidt's lawyer that in this letter, Roberta states things like bringing a shovel to help bury the body, and just different things. And now the FBI, hey, Charlie K, how are you? You heard the bedroom? Okay. Well, I wasn't for sure if they had found it in the van or in Brian's bedroom. Now the FBI has had this letter, you know, for quite some time. And, you know, knew the contents of the letter and everything. And if the FBI felt that there was sufficient enough incriminating evidence, they would have arrested Roberta Laundrie and Chris Laundrie, you know, for accessory to murder, or, you know, covering up after the fact. But as we know, they didn't. They haven't. Well, the Schmidt family wants this letter to be brought, you know, up in front of the judge regarding their lawsuit. And the Laundries are trying to keep the letter out of the courtroom. And, you know, I don't know exactly what this letter says or anything, but obviously it may not be incriminating enough by FBI standards to make an arrest. Y'all excuse me. This is the time of night when cats want to run in and out. You know, it may not be incriminating enough by FBI standards to arrest Roberta Laundrie for, you know, covering up after the fact or accessory to murder or anything like that. But the letter just, you know, obviously would rub somebody the wrong way. And that's why they're fighting so hard to keep it out of the courtroom. But if the letter is not incriminating and it's not, you know, not anything bad, then why do they want to fight to keep it out so bad? Well, so they have filed a response to all of this, and Roberta has, you know, made her claims that this is the context of what was meant in this letter and blah, 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 blah. So first of all, she says that she wrote the letter to Brian prior to him and Gabby leaving on their cross-country trip. She states that her relationship with Roberta, her relationship with her son Brian was, you know, kind of on the outs, and, you know, they were just kind of having some trouble or whatever, as, you know, parents tend to have with their kids sometimes. And she was trying to, you know, reach out to her son, and, you know, basically it's, you know, I love you, I'm your mother, you know, I'm here for you, let's, you know, make things right, whatever. And she states that the reason for the envelope saying burn after reading was a nod to a joke, an inside joke. And it pertains to a book that Gabby had given Brian called Burn After Writing. And the book is about writing sort of your own journal about your feelings and about this and that and the other and all this, and then burning it after you write it, because while you want to get these feelings out, you don't want anybody else to know about your life and your feelings and things like that. Okay. I don't get the joke, Roberta, but who am I to judge? My youngest daughter and I, we have a language all our own. My youngest daughter and I speak to each other in TV and movie quotes. And it blows people's minds, because we'll say something to each other and they'll be like, what in the hell are y'all talking about? And, you know, she and I also have this way of having a full-blown conversation across the dinner table at our relative's house without ever speaking a word. And yes, she and I can talk shit about you and you won't even know it, because we are speaking silently, telepathically, back and forth across the dinner table about how absurd this all is. So, you know, who am I to judge? But, you know, I'm sorry, Roberta Laundrie just doesn't strike me as a humorous woman. I don't know, her and Chris both, they just come across to me like a couple of sticks in the mud. You sing most of your responses to your grandkids. It's just, I know. I mean, like when I was in school, me and Stacy, we used to write letters back and forth, back then before we had cell phones and we texted each other, we had to write notes in class to each other. And we would write notes and we would use song titles in the notes. And, it was just, fun thing. But I don't know. I don't know Chris and Roberta personally, but they just, I'm sorry, don't strike me as people with much of a sense of humor. But who am I to judge? And I mean, I just cannot. There is no excuse for what these people did. Because reverse the situation. Would they want to be put through the anguish of wondering where their son was? Would they want to, I just don't, because my mom always taught me to be honest. Because once you tell a lie, you got to keep telling lies to cover up the other lies. And when in the beginning, it's just easier to be honest, but anyway, they ended up losing their son too. So, the thing about Brian and the situation between Brian and Gabby, is just truly, truly sad. It really is. Two young people who loved each other. I've never doubted that they loved each other, but they were just toxic together. And then when you move into a closed quarters, as small as living in a van, you're going to get on each other's nerves. And, I mean, it just happens. Because I don't live with anybody, but I do live, the van life, basically. But I live in an RV. I live in a Class C RV. So, I do understand, about the lifestyle, and believe me, I in the wintertime, I get, cabin fever, and, like it's raining right now, can't go outside. And when it rains for days on end, you get, you're in a cramped space, and you just, you get to a breaking point. I mean, even the dogs and cats do things that just, drive me crazy after a while. And it's not their fault, but it's just because I'm, anxious or whatever. You're wet, Rosie. She just came in to get something to eat, and she's wet. Yeah, his choice of reading material was creepy. But, here's the thing. Roberta Laundrie, look, if there's nothing incriminating about this letter, and there's some inside jokes or things that you say are being taken out of context, you know, and spun into another meaning or spun into another, you know, story or whatever, just release the letter. You know, let us, the John Q. public, as Stephen Bertolino Baloney likes to call us, let us read the letter. Let us, you know, judge for ourselves if there's nothing to hide. Because I mean, I get it. You know, people, we were talking about this today, remain calm, how some of us have somewhat of a dark sense of humor, or, you know, stuff that might be funny to us, it's just not very funny to somebody else. But we know it's funny, or we think it's funny, and it's just because, you know, sometimes you just develop a dark sense of humor or whatever, and there's nothing necessarily wrong with it, you know. I mean, I don't get the people that continue to laugh, you know, at fart jokes and stuff. It's like, I mean, how long can you laugh about fart jokes, you know? Gabby just seemed to be a soft person, while Brian just seemed to be a person with a harder personality. Brian, in my opinion, and from what has been told about his personality and stuff, was a bit socially awkward. And so when he got with Gabby, and, you know, you look at Gabby, just how cute she is and adorable she is and fun and adventurous, and, you know, you get somebody like that in your life, and normally you're kind of a socially awkward, you know, person, and you tend to develop possessiveness qualities and stuff. And, you know, from what I understand, Brian had, you know, a little bit of a temper and some anger issues. Yeah, Charlie, exactly. He had some anger issues. And he just kind of developed a, you know, where Gabby was this happy-go-lucky person who could, you know, probably be friends with the devil himself, you know, and make the devil smile. You know, Brian was not that socially, you know, charming. And so, you know, he did not want her, you know, going off with friends and doing things and whatnot. And he became possessive. I mean, we've heard the story about him taking her driver's license the night that she was, you know, supposed to go out with Rose. They were going to go out to a little club or something. And she got all the way to Rose's house, like 30 minutes away, and realized that she didn't have her driver's license. And come to find out, Brian had snuck in her purse and took it. So she ends up having to go all the way back home. She was also trying to create her social media stuff. Yes. And, you know, Brian just was not supportive of her. You know, you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to become YouTube famous, and you're not going to be, you know, a famous vlogger or blogger or whatever, you know. You know, he just was not supportive of her. You know, he sure didn't mind living the life with her, you know. And I don't know how much money he actually had of his own or got from his parents or anything like that. But, I mean, I know that he used $1,000 of Gabby's money to get his ass back home to Florida after he killed her. I know that. So, you know. But anyway, you know, I just don't, I don't see what the big deal about this letter is. you know, and let's just decide for ourselves, you know, and let a judge, for that matter, decide for themselves what they feel, you know, about this letter and what it says. Just because the FBI may not have sufficient evidence to arrest you for a crime, you know, it's kind of like the difference between a criminal trial and a civil trial. A lot of things in a civil trial are able to be admitted that are not able to be admitted in a criminal trial. You know, and that's how we saw where, you know, O.J. Simpson was acquitted of murdering Nicole and Ron, but he was civilly found liable for their deaths. And Brian Laundrie, although he was not found criminally found guilty of killing Gabby, he was found guilty of civilly being liable for her death, even though he was dead himself. Did y'all catch all that? Did that make sense? Well, couldn't have been much using her money, and that's what he got in trouble. Yeah, that's true. You know, I don't know. It's like I said, you know, the whole van life thing, and it's not all that it's cracked up to be, and it's not all that, you know, sunshine, roses, and beaches, and flowers, and, you know, beautiful sights. There's a lot of, you know, a lot of bad days in between those photographic moments of, you know, standing on a beautiful beach in a bikini. Question, quit, Rosie. Did they put a murder charge on him before they found him? No, they didn't. He was a person of interest in her disappearance. You know, until they actually found her body, she was only missing. So, and he was a person of interest in her disappearance. And then the day that she was legally declared missing, I'm trying to think back. It was within 1 or 2 days later that he took off all upset and went off out into the Nacogdoches Creek and took his own life. And, you know, when he didn't come home that night, the following day, Chris and Roberta allegedly went out to the park. They found the car. And there was a note on the car that the car was going to be towed because it was parked where it wasn't supposed to be parked. So they left the car there. They went ahead and left the car there one day night. And they claimed they looked around for him, but it was raining and stuff. Well, then the next day they went out there, and Brian still hadn't come back. The car's still there, so they brought the car home. You know, again, I think they claimed they looked around for him, but didn't find him, which I find extremely ironic when we get to when Brian actually was discovered. You know, he was what, Like when it was like 30 yards. From where the truck is it cracking? Yes, it's raining here. That's probably what you're hearing is rain hitting the metal roof. The day that they finally did find Brian's remains was the day that they actually reopened the park after having it closed down through all that time, because of flooding and them searching. The day the park was reopened, Chris and Roberta decide they're going to go out there and look. And within 30 minutes of them going in there, they went right to where they figured Brian was. And that's when they found the bag. And then they, of course, the police also were up just a little ways ahead of him and found some of his remains. So am I better? Yeah, pretty much. Remain calm. That's pretty much what happened. But it's sad that even in the end, Brian still didn't tell the truth about what he did to Gabby. He made up some lie, that she had fallen and hit her head, and he killed her to put her out of her misery, which is complete, bullshit. You do everything you can to try and get help. So, hi, Nonnie McPoppin. How are you? You think Brian was murdered? I don't know. I mean, he said himself in that letter that he was, taking his own life. So, like I said, I think that, his rather interesting choice of reading, I think that whole, note that he left behind was a complete, fictional story, fascination. I don't know where he came up with it, but he was still a coward, in my opinion. He couldn't even admit to what he had done. And it's just sad, and it's, but, at this point, it's, the Laundries were wrong for what they did to them, to the Petito and Schmidt family, and the anguish that they put them through and knowingly put them through. But in the end, they lost their son too. And, it's just a sad situation all the way around. And, I think that things could have been different. We still have no explanation as to why Brian flew home for a week to supposedly clean out a storage building to save money. Well, my God, the cost of an airfare ticket to fly all the way from, what were they, in Utah or wherever, all the way back home to Florida. I mean, that's not cheap, especially when you do it, you know, just like that day or the day before. I mean, and they were due home a couple of months from then, from when, you know, this all happened. So in the end, how much money did they really save? Everyone lost. Everyone lost everything in this situation. And the whole thing could have been avoided. And if any young girl out there that hears this broadcast or has followed this case, for the love of God, please know the signs that you are in a volatile relationship and you are in a domestic violent relationship, and get out. Because when they hit you and they say they'll never do it again, trust me, they will. And when they are possessive of you, you know, hanging out with your friends or going out somewhere with your family or whatever, the possessiveness only gets worse. So please just learn the signs and know the signs and get out. Taking his own life, if he did, was not just him being a coward, but also absolutely, yes. You know, because in the end, he didn't even tell the truth about what he did to Gabby. He says that he took her life to put her out of her misery because she was injured and he hated seeing her suffer. That's the ironic thing about it, is he couldn't even admit what he'd done. He couldn't admit and say, I'm sorry, Gabby, for what I did to you. And I don't deserve to live either for what I did to you. So I'm going to take my own life. But no, he didn't. That's not what he said. He made up some fascinating fictional bullshit story is what he did. So, but still, regardless, he might not have told his parents the complete truth, but they knew all along that Gabby was dead, and they knew that Brian was responsible for her death, regardless of why he did it. So, and that's what this is about in this lawsuit. But yeah, I would love to read the letter and see what she's saying is being taken out of context and stuff. And there's something in there about, you know, bringing shovels and burying bodies and all that kind of stuff. You know, I just don't, you know, their behavior, their attorney's behavior, you know, is some of the most despicable behavior I've ever seen in my life. I think Stephen Bertolino ought to lose his bar license. He ought to lose his law license. That man is despicable. So, anyway, that is Roberta Laundrie's response to this whole letter situation and what she meant by burn after reading. I'd be kind of curious to know, you know, what the problem issues were going on with her and Brian, you know, and why they, you know, were having trouble, you know, in their mother-son relationship, if it's any of my business. But Ellie should have known by her actions that she was the one. Oh, I know. I mean, I can't, you know, I had still not ever watched that whole video, the whole thing. I've never watched it because I've only watched it in pieces and parts, because, you know, I recognize domestic violence like a big yellow school bus coming. And, you know, it just so obvious to me. But, you know, I was a victim of domestic abuse myself. So, you know, when you've been a victim, you recognize those signs, just because they don't. And believe me, they've gotten an ass reaming for it too. And they actually have a lawsuit against that police department as well, Mary. I don't know what the status of that lawsuit is or anything, but yeah, they did file a lawsuit against that police department that made that traffic stop as well. So, well, I want to talk to, speaking of mothers, about another mother. You know, the doomsday mother, Lori Vallows Daybell. And if we think, Roberta Laundrie ain't got nothing on this woman, though. I'm telling you. You know, this is every, you know, so many years, you know, we have these outrageous cases like this. You know, we can think back to Jonestown and Jim Jones. You know, we can think back to Charlie Manson and the Manson family. You know, and things like that. But, I mean, this one really takes the cake. And, you know, I have been following the Daybell Vallow children missing case of, you know, JJ and Tylee missing before I ever came to YouTube, before I even started my Spotify channel. My daughter's cousin and I were running a missing persons page that had thousands of followers on it. So, you know, the whole time that JJ and Tylee were missing, you know, we were keeping their names and faces and everything out there and whatnot. And once this all, you know, finally came down and everything started coming out, it got so convoluted that I just wasn't, I was like, I'm not ready to go through this again just yet. Because I had just been through all this whole Mormon religion and murder stuff with the Jodi Arias Travis Alexander case. And I mean, I was invested 2 years of my life into that. And after that case was over, I had to take a break from true crime altogether because I was just cuckoo. Jodi Arias will do that to you. But, you know, trying to understand, first of all, trying to understand another religion that I wasn't, raised in or taught or anything is complicated. But, I do try to be a fair person, and I try to look into these religious situations where, murder becomes involved, to try and understand it. I caught myself one year on the anniversary of 9/11. I wanted to understand, why these people want to kill us as Americans for our religious beliefs or lack of religious beliefs, and things like that. And when I was, following in the Jodi Arias and Travis Alexander case, I looked into the Mormon religion and stuff. I've looked into the Catholic religion. I've even looked into the Church of Satan because someone asked me to. And, to understand people and understand why they think the way they do or believe the way they do, you have to understand that religion. It's like the time I was told to look into the bylaws of the Church of Satan. They were, my friend was like, just go read the bylaws for the Church of Satan, because contrary to popular belief, they don't kill little kids and they don't burn down churches. So, I've looked into other religions and stuff to better try and understand things. I looked into the Muslim religion and what the Quran teaches and all that kind of stuff, because, we hear it all the time, not all Muslims are bad, and, we hear not all Catholics are bad, or not all Mormons are bad, or, I know people that are atheists, but they're still good people and they know right from wrong. And, the thing about it is that the Quran, the Bible, and the Book of Mormon, even though they may be written differently, they all teach thou shalt not kill. All of them teach that. We also know that by law, it is against the law to take the life of someone else. Murder is against the law in every country, every city, every state, and every religion in some way, shape, fashion, or form also teaches that murder is a sin. But yet you have these people who take certain religious beliefs, and they take it to the extreme. That's why they're called extremists. These people that ISIS and Al Qaeda and all that kind of stuff, they're extremist. Chad Daybell is an extremist. He was kicked out of the Mormon church. And then why does the terrorist kill if they are Muslim? Because they've taken their religion to the extreme. And they use their religion as a justified means of killing people. And it's because they, I mean, that's the only way I know how to explain it, is they take certain core religious beliefs, but then they add a whole bunch of other crap into it and their own opinions and thoughts and whatever else delusions they have, and take it to an extreme. And you know, that's what ISIS is about, and just what Chad Daybell is about. You know, and I've tried to, like I said, this is one of those cases that I'm trying to understand where all this stems from and how all this happened and came about. Chad Daybell, you know, claims that he had 2 near-death experiences. And I know a little something about that. I don't talk about it much, because unless you've experienced it yourself, you can't understand it. But I had a near-death experience myself, and I went through a spiritual awakening. And I learned so much. So many different, things. But the way that I learned all this stuff, what kickstarted it, after the near-death experience, is rather comical, actually. But, I don't question, God has mysterious ways of doing things. And, he gives us signs and, things like that in some of the weirdest ways and under some of the weirdest circumstances. But, it kickstarted a spiritual awakening for me. And so I kind of feel hypocritical on whether I, believe Chad Daybell. Now, I have not read any of his books or anything that he's written, so I don't know where his frame of mind was, pre-Lori. I think the best that I can gather, he was somewhat just a normal guy, religious, and he had these near-death experiences. He wrote books about them and he shared them, and, he just, going around the world and giving his testimony and, teaching others, about God and the Mormon religion and faith and whatever. And, that's that. But Chad Daybell actually got, whatever they call it, he got kicked out of the Mormon church because he began to preach and tell about things that actually went against the Mormon thing. And this is where he started getting, extreme with his teaching and all this kind of stuff. And, it comes into play, he meets Lori Daybell, or meets Lori Vallows, and, then things just took a sinister turn. in a way, not only was he deceived, he let, in my opinion, he let Satan deceive him. And, his I forget what Melanie called it, but, they both let darkness seep into their lives and basically kind of like, sins of flesh took over. But yet they kept trying to, justify it all with religion and their religious beliefs. That's the rain, honey. It started raining, It'll slack up for a little while and then it starts back again. And, they just start using religion to justify their sins. And, there's a phone call that was played during one of Chad Daybell's preliminary hearing. And it's a phone call where Melanie Wood, Mary's friend, called him because, they drug her into their mess. They told the police that JJ was at her house, and, anyway, the conversation succeeded, and we start, Lori starts getting the vibe that, okay, it sounds like you're turning against us, and, and Melanie's like, well, it sounds like y'all have, let the devil on into, y'all's life too. Yeah, I know, it's round. It's hitting kind of metal roof. My roof is not, what do you call that? The kind of material that all these are made out of. Because I have an antique. Anyway, maybe it's clear up. Anyway, so, they're trying to use religion to justify, not only them being together, they try to use it to justify, killing all these people that they did to make their way to be able to be together. And, they tell this trick about zombies, and everybody becoming a zombie. And Lori, started stating that about her husband, Carl, and then about her kids, too. And she, why do you want me running, Moses? She starts allowing, Chad to convince her that her kids are zombies. And that, a dark entity has taken over their bodies, and they need to die. Like I said, he went way out in foul ball field with his him and religion stuff, and he began to put it out there more or less like, he's the one that's going to lead everybody to the promised land, and if you want VIP tickets, so, listen to him and believe what he says. He's an interesting character. But, what I want to know is if he's just manipulating people, or does he believe the bullshit he's selling himself? And I asked that question about Corey Newton, as a matter of fact. Because, the whole thing that he tried to tell about health and shelter, and the race war and all that kind of stuff, was he just conning these people into doing his dirty work for him? Or did he believe that truly himself? So, if Chad really believes, that he was a prophet and all this, and or if he knowingly being manipulating and cunning and selling people a line of bullshit. And Rory has been declared incompetent during trial twice. He's competent now, and they have actually, they are severing the trial. So Rory and Chad are not going to try together. They are going to try to due to the money, because they are both also death penalty. But he has been declared mentally incompetent during trial. And so I wanted to know more about why they say he's mentally ill. So I started looking into what, because I wasn't sure if it would come out publicly what he was actually diagnosed with as a mental illness or not. So I started looking into it and everything, and regarding really just crazy. But I think it's like crazy about the law. I agree with you, Rosie. I do. What do y'all think about Rosie's opinion? She says it's her way or the highway. Y'all better believe what she says. Anyway, I really wanted to look into this, why they say she is mentally ill. Because, as I was saying, there's a difference in crazy by law and, crazy. And I found myself on Reddit looking into some other people's opinions, about what they thought about the way Vallows mentioned things and what Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. I know a lot about mental illness because I suffer from mental illness. And I studied it, in an effort to understand why I am the way I am. But not everybody, will stand here and admit to you that they have mental illness and know that they have mental illness. Some people don't even acknowledge that they have mental illness because they don't really even realize it. So, just really even what does she comprehend and what does she not comprehend? What does she understand and what does she not understand? And honestly, and this is my opinion, in my opinion, she puts off a lot of the same demeanor as Jody Arias did. And she followed the Jody Arias crowd and all those shenanigans and all that kind of mess. You know how she acted. And I feel like Lori depicts a lot of the same sort of narcissistic wisdom. Because I see these expressions on the voice page, and the different smirks that she makes and eye rolls and all that kind of stuff. And to me, it comes across as like, oh my God, this is so ridiculous. It's so absurd. I can't believe y'all even have an imagination this wild to even been saying this absurd, ridiculous shit. And these charges, it's absolutely moronic. I am in no way guilty of this. This is absurd. The people are nuts. That's the way I feel really upset. And I feel like it comes across normal. To me, she's normal. But just comprehend the magnitude of what has happened. Because I've not seen one huge death from this thing. Not one desperate scream of anything. Of sadness or sorrow about children or anything. It's like she either does not comprehend the magnitude of what she's done, or she just don't get it. And to me, she just don't care. So does that make her mentally ill? Is she... Someone on Reddit wrote that they believe, and I wrote this down, that they believe Chad is ASPD, psychopath type, and that Lori could be diagnosed soon, but she's more sociopath, and that she was vulnerable for some reason. She's more vulnerable to Chad's manipulation. and, that he manipulated her for his own benefit. But in reality, I think they manipulated the whole situation in the end just to be able to be together and make it look like, oh, this is all God's. We can't argue with God's plan. And yes, it's terrible that my children died and my husband died and Dad's wife died and all these people had to die from nothing. But it was God's will. When in him it was just downright cold-blooded, adulterous murder, to be honest. And then you got Alan Clark, his older brother, who I have no doubt is the one that did all the dirty work for everything. He's the one who killed Carl. He's the one who killed Colin and JJ. Everything in Chad's backyard, I believe Chad was there. I don't know whether Lori was building things to done to her children or what, but I feel hard to be sure that Chad and Alex were both involved and doing it and burying the kids in the yard and all that kind of stuff. But what's bizarre about all of it is that trigger warning, the manner in which they died, Colin and JJ died, and the basic details that were done to them matches what we hear in the fictional world of The Walking Dead and and all that kind of stuff. They were killed in a manner of how you actually kill a zombie. And it's graphic. I'm not willing to repeat, the details on how to kill a zombie. If you want to know, look it up. But that's exactly what they do to little children. I think that they just wanted everyone out of the way so they could be together. All the young kids, murder, conspiracy, adultery are fair. And, they use religion as an excuse for it all. I don't know what God said Daybell and Lori Vallows worship, but my God tells me not to kill people under no circumstances. Of course, the law tells me the same thing. I don't know about y'all, but I don't want to go sit in prison. So, a good drug test, and that's all has that life. But, I wanted to read what corporal punishment in the morning scripture actually says. Thou shalt not kill, and he that kills shall not have forgiveness in this world nor in the world to come. Let me repeat that. Thou shalt not kill, and he that kills shall not have forgiveness in this world or in the world to come. So you tell me, said Daybell and your prophet self, what makes you think that you are excluded from this? And Lori Vallows, Daybell, what makes you think you are excluded from this? You're not. You're not excluded. And you know, why is it so catchy? It's raining here, and I'm probably not getting, I may not even be getting good signal. You know, I always go back and re-listen to my lives after I've done them. I don't know how it's going to sound on that one, but anyway, you know, I've kind of gone over, you know, pretty much everything I wanted to go over. You know, this, one thing I can tell you about Lori and her family is that, you know, that family, there's been some weird stuff told about that family. And actually, Alex's ex-wife reported to the police some stuff. And, you know, and she also said that Alex himself had been kicked out of the Mormon church. He's been excommunicated like twice out of the church. So, you know, these people were sinners, and they knew they were sinners. So I think, you know, people just took their religion and just molded it into some craziness of their own. And in the end, you know, it's a cold-blooded murder and adultery is what it is. And they deserve to go to prison. And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but none been to heaven. I mean, that's up to God if they do go to heaven, but I don't think so. I really don't. Anyway, does anybody have any questions or anything you want to mention or talk about or whatnot? I'm sorry I'm coming from so fancy, everybody. That it's raining here, and so I would imagine maybe I guess probably is. Whatever. You doing all right, Nana? Well, I guess that is all I really had. You know, to honestly go on and on and on and on the rest of the night talking about this whole sort of sad story that you know, her lawyers keep claiming that she's mentally ill, even though, you know, even though in Idaho, you cannot, in Idaho, you can't plead not guilty by reason of insanity or mental illness. You know, that doesn't stop her from being, you know, declared mentally incompetent to try. However, she cannot claim that she's not not guilty by reason of mental illness or defect or anything like that. The lawyer's intervention will be taken off the table, because he's mentally ill and all that. And I don't know, that's going to be up to that judge and jury to decide, but, where do you cross, where do you draw the line between mental illness and, murder and manipulation? I don't know. I think she's more manipulation than she is mental illness. That's the way she comes across to me. I cannot imagine some man turning me and brainwashing me into believing that I need to kill my kids. That is just a thought I cannot even fathom. If that's what they want to claim, that, this situation is real. He's mentally ill. There's no full understanding of, what she's done. I have thought of this thing. So anyway, everyone, y'all have a great night. And please remember, when you go out into this world, be the change that you want to see in this world. As Michael Jackson said, it starts with the man in the world. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.
What's happening, y'all? If you're looking for a sad true crime podcast, then get up off of that thing and boogie on over to the Ruby Pearl Glamper True Crime Podcast, where we give you the lowdown on all things true crime. Oh, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Catch you on the flip side.